you will never find where you're going.
When Nigeria is working, we will all know.
PDP and us are diametrically opposed.
SaharaTV, TV, the best TV, information, education, inspiration. SaharaTV,
I am from SaharaTV. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Education, inspiration. SaharaTV, they get mouth, they get mouth.
Hi viewers, welcome back to SaharaTV. We apologize for the technical difficulty that we had. But right now we want to talk with a reporter in Nigeria. He's a freelancer and his name is Deji Badamosi. He's very well known when he was working at Channels TV. There's a story that recently broke out from Channels TV about the state of the police academy, Nigerian police academy in Lagos, how it has dilapidated and how it has become like a shadow of what it used to be. So, but what many people don't know is that Deji was actually the one that went after this story to cover it before he left Channels TV. So I'm sure you've seen the one that we've been showing with him going through the restrooms and stuff like that. So we decided we'd like to hear from him about the story. Deji, welcome to SaharaTV.
Thank you very much, Adela.
So Deji, let's start from, what makes you decide to go after stories like this? I mean, things like this have been in existence for years in Nigeria, and for some reason, so many reporters are not looking at that side. So many people are not seeing that it's newsworthy. What is it in you that inspires you to go after stories like this instead of, let's say, wedding ceremony?
Well, now, let me just tell you why I decided to do a story on the police academy. That's the police college in Ikeja. Ikeja, by the way, as you know, it's, is a metropolitan city. And, this college is right in the heart of the city of Lagos. Now, the basic reason I decided to do this is just because of the security challenge the country is confronting at the moment. And, you come across policemen on the road, around checkpoints and all of that, and sometimes their behavior to you would be irrational. But one thing nobody ever bothered to ask is, what exactly is the kind of training or the quality of training given to this guy? And so, one day I was driving just around the police college, and from the road, you could see how bad, some of the hostels, because the hostels are very close to the road. You could just see how bad the hostels are. And then I saw how bad the hostels were from the road, just saw the windows, some of the windows were not.
There were no windows.
Yes. I mean, it's everybody, we all see this every day. If you are driving, if you're very familiar with Lagos and Ikeja, there's this road called Bank Anthony Way.
Yeah.
Very popular. Yeah, exactly. Now, if you are driving on Bank Anthony Way, and Bank Anthony Way, by the way, takes you to the international airport. So if you're driving along, if you're driving along that road, you will see the hostels. They're very close because there's the police college is just close to the road. There's just a fence, separating it from the road. So you would see these, you see the hostels, you would see there are no windows there. So, it struck me when I saw the hostels, and I felt, it would be interesting to go in there and find out what the true picture of that place really is. And that's where it all started. Eventually I was able to get in there, and I was shocked, completely shocked at what I saw, terribly shocked. I mean, this is something I never imagined. I never imagined I was going to see this kind of thing. Initially, when I conceived this idea, of course, I was working for Channels then, the whole idea was just to do a short story out of it, just a short story. A story of, say, probably 3-4 minutes. But when I got in there, on the day I succeeded in getting in there to shoot, and I saw the scale of the dilapidation, the scale of the deplorable condition, I decided this was not going to be a small story at all. So I got in touch with the management of Channels Television, and we had a meeting and had an agreement that we should do a big story out of this. I mean, not just a big story, that since we're having a security challenge, that we should also use the opportunity to hold a summit, which of course Channels eventually called Channels Forum, to hold a summit, invite people, and see how we could raise funds to help rebuild some of the dilapidated infrastructure in the police college. So that was how it all started. And so it took several weeks to get that video.
Yeah, I was about to
ask.
I was about to ask about how easy was it getting the permission to go in there, and were there any was anyone trying to say that no, you can't come here? Were they comfortable with you? How did you convince them to let you film them? You know, eating and doing all those stuff.
It's pretty straightforward. First of all, I mean, you've seen the video. You know, there was no way I could have gone in there stealthily. No way. There was just no way I could have gone in there disguised and all of that, because you saw some policemen around, you saw the recruits, and you know, they felt so free. So we convinced, we convinced the authority. Let me just put it that way, that this whole idea was to help the police. I mean, help the college.
To help them.
Try to, yeah, exactly. To try to get public-spirited individuals and, companies and organizations to support the rebuilding of that college. And so they bought into it, and they allowed us in.
And did you imagine when you were doing this story that the president would decide to go and visit because of this story that you decided to do?
Not at all, Adiola. Not at all. I was surprised when the president came, but not completely surprised that he came, because, I mean, for the president to have come there, he was shocked at what he saw, you know, when the visuals were shown on Channels TV. No doubt he was shocked. And the president never knew all this while that things were really bad. Remember, the police college, Ikeja, is not the only police college we have. Actually, we have about 8 police colleges.
Yeah.
8 of them in the country. Now, Ikeja is so important because it is the foremost police college, the first police college in Nigeria.
It's supposed to be the most prestigious of all of them,
exactly,
so to say.
It is, yeah, exactly. So if the premier police college in the country could look like that, you can just imagine what the other colleges would look like, you know. So we decided to start with the premier police college and to tell the story. And thank God the president came, even though I must confess, I wasn't so happy with what he said, you know, because I felt it was an opportunity for the president to take the shine.
Yeah.
He was not responsible, or he is not responsible for the rot in the police college. We've had several presidents in the past, so several administrations. Why these past administrations didn't do anything at all about the police college, and why, you know, it beats my imagination. So for the president to have said, you know, from what was reported, to have said the whole thing was designed to embarrass administration and all of that.
Yeah.
I
was just about to ask you about that. What do you think when you had the president say that this whole thing was a conspiracy by his enemies, you know, so to say, to paint him bad?
I was utterly disappointed, to say the least. I was utterly disappointed because, you know, I was embarrassed too. I mean, I'm a Nigerian. We must understand that. So, I mean, it's a shame, not just the shame of this administration, it's a shame of this country. I was embarrassed at what I saw too. But the fact is that if we did not tell this story, how could the president have known?
Mm-hmm.
And as I speak today, they've had several meetings, and the Minister of Police Affairs has come up now to say they're going to fix all the police colleges in Nigeria. For God's sake, if we did not do this story, they couldn't have known.
Yeah.
One would not have known how bad the situation is right inside the police college. And Nigerians too would not have understood why our policemen behave the way they do.
Yeah. So, but now the president also promised to, you know, raise a committee to look into this and hopefully try to get them some money. Do you think that the government would follow through in having some kind of restoration plan for these schools? and considering the fact that there a lot of money had been allocated to these schools in the past for renovations up to 2 billion naira, and somebody somewhere must have embezzled this money. So do you think the government will still, try to have some kind of restoration plan?
Well, Diola, your question clearly shows you have your doubts. And, I have my own doubts as well, just like you. Same way other Nigerians. The president said, a committee will be set up. I understand a committee has been set up and that they've actually started working. As I said, the Minister of Police Affairs came out the other day to say the institutions will be fixed. I mean, the police colleges. We can only give them the benefit of the doubt. But if past experience is anything to go by, you never can be too hopeful. But let's just hope. Yeah. Let's just hope that something is done. But you know what? If nothing is done, we are going to keep at this story. Yes, I'm no longer at Channels, but we're going to put this in the front burner. My only problem with Nigerians is that we have a very short memory. After a while now, we're talking about police college. A few, some months ago, it was at the Farouk Lawan standout.
Yeah,
nobody's talked about
it was never concluded.
Yeah, exactly. That lawmaker has not been arraigned before any court at all. Nigerians have forgotten. And those in government also know that Nigerians have very short memories. So I just hope that we wouldn't forget. But honestly, we are going to keep at this because we're doing this not just for the government. We're doing this for ourselves because we have better equipped police force. We have policemen who behave the way policemen should behave and are well treated. Then the better our society will become.
Okay, so my next question is, when I was watching all these videos, I was looking for something and I didn't find it. But I'm wondering if you found it when you were there. Was there some kind of formal training going on, like them learning how to shoot, how to protect themselves, how to defend themselves, was there like some critical formal training, police training going on the whole time you were there, or is just like any ordinary school?
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful question. To be frank, for the whole time I was there shooting, the only training I saw was the normal military drills. I mean, when I say military drills, the one we call parades here. Parade, and that's all. Then, of course, we saw some classes, formal classes, where they were being taught some
theory.
Theory, not practical. And imagine what the classrooms do look like. I mean, the classrooms they're just dead classrooms. And I understand from what I was able to gather that the police college has no standard shooting range. And you need a shooting range to train policemen how to shoot.
Yeah, to learn how to shoot guns.
Well, I didn't see one at all. I didn't see one. And I went around the college and well, maybe there's one somewhere outside the college
that you're not aware of.
That I'm not aware of, yes.
That is very sad. I mean, so in light of that, do you think that we are empowering our security officers the way we should? Do you have faith in the Nigerian policeman that if there's like a combat going on, that a policeman can protect you, he's well trained, he has everything he needs? Do you have that confidence?
Well, Diola, from what I saw, I would say no. I do not have that confidence at all. But from the promise of the president and the promise of the Minister of Police Affairs, if things get better, then maybe that confidence will return. But for now, from what I saw, and we're talking about the premier police college in Nigeria. So I do not know what the situation is with other police colleges elsewhere in the country. And as a matter of fact, I even understand that the day the president came to that institution, the commandant of that college told the president that the police college Ikeja, using his words now from what I read in the papers, was more like, Sheraton Hotel compared to the other police colleges in the country.
You're saying that others could be worse than what we saw?
Exactly. That's what they told us, that others are worse than what we saw. So if others are worse, for God's sake, where is that confidence going to come from? There's no doubt at all that, things need to change.
Yeah. So anyway, we're running out of time, but just quickly, I wanted to ask you just two more questions. The first one is the idea of decentralizing the police force. Do you have any view on that? Should it? I mean, a lot of people are saying that this policemen need to be run not by the federal government but by the state. Do you see any urgency for that? Do you think that if it's the state that runs this police schools and police everything, that do you think they will be better managed?
This is my own opinion. I don't think so. I think we need a central police force. I still don't think they'll be better managed. I mean, go to the states too. They have their own institutions. How many of these states manage their state institutions very well? I think it's still going to boil down to the same problem. Okay. I mean, this is a big problem. I do not, personally, I do not think having a state police would solve the problem. And my reason is just simple. I just fear that if you have state police, the level of abuse will be very high. The police will become too politicized. Politicians will take control of the police. Governors will use the police to intimidate their opponents, and things are just going to go out of control. Things are not so wonderful now that the federal government is controlling it.
I was about to say that.
Just imagine what the situation would be should the states control. I'll give you a typical example. I know we're out of time. Today, as we speak in this country, you have INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission, and then at the state level, you have the state electoral commissions. Now, the state electoral commissions take responsibility for conducting local government elections, but you know, Adeola, that local government elections in this country are no elections at all. They are absolute nonsense.
You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and the reason is just because these state independent electoral commissions are controlled by the state governors. And that's the reason you have a situation where in any state you have a particular party in power. If, for instance, the governor is an ACN governor and there's local government election today in that state, the entire local government election will be won by the ACN. Same thing goes with the PPP.
I honestly feel like I feel like you do have a point in that, especially like talking about election. I feel like in so many local governments, the results had been decided before the actual election.
Of course, we know that.
I agree with you. You do have a point in that. At the same time, it's possible. Is it possible, I should say, that it could create some healthy competitions, if the policemen are decentralized? Is it possible it could create some healthy competitions? Like here in the US, every state wants to outdo the other state. Does that make any sense to you? Every state wants to appear with the best trained, the best policemen, the best everything, So it's all the things that you're saying, they're true. But let's also not rule out the fact that if it's a good, it's a country that functions well, it's supposed to promote, good competition.
I'm happy you said a country that functions well. But what happens in a country that doesn't function well?
I feel
there's no doubt at all that decentralizing the police and having states take control of the police has its own advantage. Yeah. But I think we just have to put the advantage and disadvantage, or advantages now, disadvantages on a scale. Now, should the federal government control, would the advantage now outweigh the advantage of the states taking control? I just have my own fears. I only just gave you
I appreciate it.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry,
as example.
We're completely out of time. My last question is, what are some other stories that you think Nigerian journalists or reporters in Nigeria need to focus on? I mean, like the story that you just did. What are some other stories? I'm thinking about things like going to hospitals and just doing a documentary about how ridiculous some hospitals have become, and how sometimes you won't be treated if you don't have money, even if the person is dying. Like things like this need to be out there. What other stories are you thinking?
Now, very quickly, I'll just tell you one, and I'm just giving you a sneak preview of what I'm planning to do.
Okay.
We have so many public primary and secondary schools in this country, right?
Yes.
I mean, the states own the secondary schools, their own primary schools, and all of that. Have we ever asked ourselves, what the facilities, especially the toilet facilities, what they are in the schools, public schools, I mean. Do they even have them at all?
They don't have most.
Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Most government schools don't have like a regular toilet. They have latrines.
Well, I'm just giving you a sneak preview as to what I intend to do next. So there are quite a number of stories I think we can do.
And you know what, Deji, I'm also thinking about institutions like the state-owned television authorities. In so many states, you get there, you see state-owned television stations, and the equipment are like the one they got in 1970 something. A lot of things are no longer used, you know. So that's also another story to think about. Well,
yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank
you so much for coming on our show today. It was fun talking with you about this story.
Thank you very much, Adeola. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So we'll look forward to your next story, right? You're working on one. Great.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
So viewers, that has been Deji Badamosi from Lagos, who has done this documentary that has become the hottest news right now in Nigeria about the state of the Nigerian Police Academy in Lagos. Well, we have our regulars coming up. Dr. Damiji is in Keeping It Real with Adeola, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.